Hello everyone, I am Douglas E. Welch. Welcome back to this episode of the Dog Days of Podcasting, our 30 podcast in 30 days challenge. For more information on the Dog Days of Podcasting, which takes place the entire month of August, visit dogdaysofpodcasting.com. Well, the one thing that Dog Days of Podcasting does for me is it gets me out, in this case, out onto the patio to do a video I've been meaning to do for a long time and to do a project I've been meaning to do for a long time. A few years ago, I made my first batch of hard cider. It's very, very easy. It's easier than brewing beer. It's easier than making wine. In fact, I would consider it one of the first steps if you want to get into those hobbies. This is the first easy, almost foolproof process to do if you enjoy hard cider. I have visited the UK several times and really have come to love hard ciders as found in the pubs throughout the UK, and so it was only a matter of time before I got around to making my own batch. Now, the ingredients necessary to make hard cider are very, very simple. Basically, you need some apple juice. In this case, this is unfiltered organic apple juice. You can use filtered apple juice if you wish, but the only important thing about the apple juice you use is it should not have any preservatives. If it says no preservatives or it doesn't list preservatives on the bottle, you're okay. Preservatives will actually kill the yeast we're going to put in this to make it into hard cider, so you don't want to do that. In this case, this has been pasteurized, but there's no preservatives in it and should work just fine for us. The first time we did it, in this bottle here, this actually came from Whole Foods, which has a similar product, and one of the nice things there is it gave us this very nice bottle to use for future processes of making hard cider, so it's been a really great investment in that case. So the most important thing about cider is anything that's going to touch the apple juice should be sanitized. Now, you can go to the brewery store and buy all sorts of fancy sanitizing agents. Frankly, what I do is I use just a cap full of chlorine bleach in a tub of water like this, and then you put everything that's going to touch this in this sanitizing solution. And then you have to be a little bit careful not to touch the items after you bring them out and put them onto the bottle. Also, this bottle has been filled with the same solution and rinsed out entirely, and we're going to dump this out and add in the apple juice that we bought in the other container. Now, in some of the sites I've read online about making hard cider, they said you want to leave a little bit of headspace in your bottle to allow for foaming up. Now, I will say the first time I did this, I got almost no foaming. The fermentation was very active. You could actually hear the bottle fizzing as it fermented, but I didn't get a lot of foam in this in the neck of the bottle. The reason you don't want foam is when you put the airlock on, which I'll show you in just a second, you don't want it filling up in the airlock because that can help to contaminate your cider. I think this is plenty of headroom here for this particular bottle. I don't think we'll have any issues with it foaming up inside. If we do, we just take the airlock off, we re-sanitize it, we wash it out, and we put it back on. Now, what we did for our yeast, our fermenting agent for our hard cider, is we went to our local brew store. There's one in almost every town in the country. And for 75 cents, we picked up a package of Cote de Blanc yeast, which is usually used for making wines. In fact, this single packet is good for 5 gallons of wine or cider. So I've actually measured out, it's a 5-ounce package, 5-gram package, metric system. I've already measured a gram of it out here, which should be perfect for our 1 gallon of cider that we're making here. So what we've done, here's our 1 gram of yeast, our Cote de Blanc yeast, basically just a little under a quarter cup of water. You just need enough water to kind of carry the yeast so you can easily pour it in the bottle. We're just going to add that in. We are going to kind of stir it up just a little bit in here. And again, if you want to use a stirrer, make sure you sanitize the stirrer first before you put it into here. And once that's all mixed up, we go ahead and we simply, I think I can do this freehand here, so we'll just go ahead and pour this right into our cider. And if you've got leftover yeast in the mixing bowl, just add a little more water and then add that in as well. Okay, so now that our yeast is added, pretty much all we need to do is put the airlock on and let it start to percolate. Now, if you wanted a higher alcohol value, this will be a fairly low alcohol hard cider because there's only a certain amount of sugar in the apple juice itself. If you're looking for a higher alcohol content, you can add honey, you could add sugar, brown sugar, whatever flavor components you might want to add, and that would help. Of course, just as a reminder, you can't use any sort of artificial flavoring in this because, of course, yeast can't eat stevia or other artificial flavors. It has to have that sugar to convert into alcohol and then also release the carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide is the reason we need the next step, which is we need to keep any other microbes out of this container. And so what we've done is, again, we've gone to the brewery store. This is a airlock. There's various types of these airlocks. I like this one pretty much the best. It seems to work the best. What this does, it lets the carbon dioxide out so the bottle itself does not explode, but it keeps other microbes out of the bottle. Basically, we put a stopper in our bottle. Again, we've sanitized this stopper. Come here. And I'm okay touching the top here because the apple juice does not touch that. It's only going to touch the bottom here. We put a bottom part of our airlock in there. We then take our cap, which goes over the little air vent in the middle there, and then we fill this up with water. This creates an airlock. It allows the air to bubble out. There's little holes here along the bottom of that airlock that basically allows the airlock to rise up, and when it gets enough CO2, it actually burps and lets out the CO2 that's in there. Then finally, on the very top, we simply put our cap, which has a little tiny hole in it to let the carbon dioxide out as it goes. That is pretty much it. This is going to set in an area of your house or garage that kind of keeps a stable temperature. It isn't really temperature dependent. You wouldn't want to let it get too cold because that would cause the yeast to slow down, but anything between about 65 degrees and 85 degrees should probably be fine. I'm actually going to set this one inside this year. The first time I did it in the garage because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I figured it was going to make a mess. I didn't want it in the house. Again, there's no way this can explode or anything because the gas is easily released out the top through the airlock, so you're safe and good to go here. This is going to set basically until it's done fermenting. Within a couple hours, you will actually start to see some fermentation starting to occur. You'll see some bubbling in here. When I did this the last time, you could actually, as I said before, hear the bottle fizzing in the corner. It was that active. So once that fermentation has completed entirely, that means it's converted all the sugar to alcohol. You're ready to go on to the next level, which is basically you can either put this in smaller bottles, you can drink it right out of here. This time, I didn't do it last time, but this time I'm actually going to use these finings. This is isinglass. There's a variety of types of things that you can add to your brews, and these are good for ciders or beers or wine. What it does is it takes all the sediment, this unfiltered apple juice, it causes it to coagulate together and drop to the bottom of the bottle, so you end up with a fairly clear cider or wine or beer that you can then bottle up. It's totally related to aesthetics, though. It has no effect at all on the taste of the cider if you leave the unfiltered sediment in there. It's fine, it's totally drinkable, but some people just prefer a clearer cider for aesthetic reasons. So that's pretty much it for making this batch of hard cider. We're going to wait, probably take a couple weeks at least, maybe as long as a month for this to ferment up. I'll fill you in with future podcasts in the coming weeks. Until next time, I'm Douglas E. Welch. You can find out everything about me and everything that I do, including careers in new media, my word, technology IQ, a gardener's notebook, and more on the website douglasewelch.com. There you can also find a link to the Dog Days of Podcasting Challenge at dogdaysofpodcasting.com.